Hello, everybody. Just back from the comic book store. It's Sleepy Reader. I'm not quite sure the point of doing a comic book haul if I'm also going, for the new comic book day, if I'm also then in 4 days going to do a comic book countdown of all these comics, but you never know if I'll really do both. Despite joking around on Twitter that I'd become like Ghost Critic, who for years consistently did a haul and then a comic book review where he counted down to his favorite comic of the week. But I don't know if I'll really continue that. I've always done this channel more on my whims. And so I don't promise anything to anybody about anything. The first thing I picked up was some focaccia bread at that bakery that's right down the street, right down the block from the comic book store. That's expensive stuff, the bakery bread. Has the price of wheat gone way up? Is bread going way up through the roof? Okay, so let's see. What did I get? I got Casper's Spooksville. I just like the look of that cover, basically. I'm hoping my daughter will like it, just so I can have the excuse of it being not just for me. That looks like somehow there's something about this art that looks like it's a reprint. I bet these things combine a few new and some older stuff, or maybe it's all reprints. This company, American Mythology Productions, keeps putting out a few kids' comics every few months, I think. I don't think they're monthly. And they keep putting out first issues of these Casper things. Because this is number one, and I know I've seen lots of other Casper comics by them. Let's see what it says. It doesn't say anything that I can see about it being monthly or bi-monthly or anything like that. So, anyway, I don't know. It feels good to buy that sometimes. I'm real psyched for Curse Words. I think, did they take a month off? And now they're back. And I seem to remember I seem to remember there was some plan for this coming to a close, but I might be wrong. I get all my different independent comics confused. Oh, good news. Another Lucifer out. Number 9 already. This is definitely, in my top 5 or 10 comics that I get, depending on the issue. It's the artist. Yeah, oh, whoa. I wonder if this is a fill-in. The artist is Kelly Jones, who famously did a few stories of Sandman. Immediately looking at it, I find the color a little bit not serving the Kelly Jones art, making it too shadowy. Kelly Jones art is already shadowy. You don't have to add shadowy coloring to it, in my opinion. Still, Kelly Jones is one of my favorite artists. So. And we don't get enough of him. So I'm really excited to see that this, we'll see if the chemistry with Kelly Jones and the writer Dan Waters is as good as it's been with the Fiumara brothers. And then I got Guardians of the Galaxy. I did drop, even though I had been loving it as Guardians of the Galaxy, because there were just 2 awful issues from the War of the Realms crossover. And I just didn't feel like sticking around for more. I just sort of assumed that the fun of that book was being destroyed by the event. And then I got Little Bird. Wow, there's a lot of comics I'm really happy to get this week. That looks pretty ominous there, that cover. Ian Bertram, the artist, who was also the artist on the book about the Winchester House, which name I always have trouble remembering. Anyway, he loves doing these kind of red tubes all over the place in his artwork when things are getting creepy. Hopefully, as I'm reading Ian Bertram comics 5-10 years from now, hopefully this won't always be his whole thing, because, like any thing, it can get old. I suppose you could say, well, Kirby Crackle never gets old. So maybe Bertram tubes or Bertram tentacles never get old. But anyway, they're not old yet, and they fit well into this incredibly well-colored comic. So I'm real excited for that. and I'm super excited. This is my heresy. I don't like Usagi Yojimbo because it's in black and white. They once had a color special. I ate that issue up, but every time I try to read the regular Usagi Yojimbo, I just find it hard to get into. And I feel that the art needs color, and then I would get into it more. And now, Stan Sakai, I don't know if it's his decision, or maybe he always wanted color, or an IDW got him away from Dark Horse for the color. I don't know how they decided to go color, but I think color graphic novels of this, when it hits the kids market and the young adult market, will take off. And I am now really happy to be having this on my pull list. So I can't wait to read this. And if you've ever seen Stan Sakai at a con or get a chance to, he's a really cool guy. Fun to hear him talk about things. Skyward number 14. I've been kind of hoping that this is near a wrap-up. I've been enjoying this a lot, but maybe they'll throw whole new things at us and it will be able to go on for another 20 issues. But it feels more like maybe it should wrap up by issue 20 or something along those lines. And it will have been a very good sci-fi graphic novel. Also, even though the covers don't ever grab me, really looking forward to the next issue of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, which because of Kelly Thompson and Veronica Fish has been kind of a pure fun read. Yeah, I tried. My daughter wanted to because a lot of the other 10, 11-year-olds at school were watching Riverdale, and we watched half an hour of Riverdale, and I had so many problems with it as a TV show for a young child to be watching. But anyway, there's nothing like that in here. This is fully all the whole family kind of can read it. Now, I don't know why I did this. It's just one of those impulses. I grabbed the Howard the Duck. What do they call them? It's not the True Believers or the Creators ones that are cheap. It's a full price $3.99 comic, but I think it's a what do they call it? It's basically a replica of the original issue. So other than saying $3.99 there instead of probably 35 cents or 30 cents, it is the entirety of the Howard Duck issue, including reproductions of the old ads. Of course, on different paper than Howard the Duck originally came out on. And kind of sacrilege, I like the old comics printed on this kind of paper better than, I love old comics, and sometimes I love the smell of them. If some of them smell good, some of them don't. But I feel a lot of the newsprint, particularly from the 70s, even more than the 60s, the ink just kept spreading out on them, and what I'm looking at is kind of blurry. Oh, I should have learned to play guitar. Man. So this is Frank Brunner art. It's amazing stuff. And the other difference is there's that on the cover. They should have put that on the back cover, at least show us the original cover as it was. Got the whole Stan Lee soapbox and everything. So it's a fun thing. It's very fun. For someone who doesn't know anything about comics and comes in the store and buys this, they might be very puzzled seeing all these ads, not knowing that they aren't real ads anymore. Would they end up sending off to Bud Plant or someone like that? Because I think, like here, where you can send off for a catalog of back issue comics, I think the address is still in there. Probably the address is in these other ads. Universal Bodybuilding, box 485, Dearborn, Michigan. That'd be funny if they started if that company still exists. I'm sure it doesn't. Yeah, anyway, a lot of fun, good times. I forgot that this first issue was by Frank Brunner, because I don't know how many issues he did, but he was quickly replaced by Gene Colan, who's great also. But sort of familiarity breeds less excitement. Frank Brunner did less comics, so it's more exciting when you see his comics. And it somehow never made it onto my pull list, but I keep picking up Assassination. This is issue 4, and I think it's just going to be 5 issues, which is probably just right for what they're up to. This is a comic that's been a lot of fun. Could be even better than it is, in a sense. One can sort of picture it being up a notch, but anyway, I enjoy reading it quite a bit. And then, they didn't put this in my pull box. So I could have scampered away without spending my money on the Meredith Finch brief foray into Conan. She, the only thing I've read by her was a few issues of Wonder Woman that I did not enjoy. It's a great cover by her husband, and the interior art doesn't look like anything to get me excited. But in the end of the day, I was curious. Not many women have written Conan, and so I wanted to see what Meredith Finch would do there. Maybe she has a better feel for Conan than Wonder Woman. One can hope. And if not, I think it's just 1 or 2 issues. Let's see if it says to be continued at the end without looking at the... No, it says the end. So this is a one-shot. So that's also good. Then I dropped this from my pull list. And I don't know why I picked it up off the counter. Off the shelf. I figured this copy was the one that my comic shop got anyway, because when I drop something, I don't have to drop it in advance, so they have it get stuck with at least 1 further issue, if not 2. And there's no real harm in reading this. I just didn't want to get... I don't know. Maybe I'll just read this issue or finish out the arc, but buying it off the shelf, but not to be concluded, it says on the last page there. Whether that's it for Invisible Kingdom. Anyway, so I guess I haven't really dropped it. And finally, this wasn't on my pull list, but when I saw there was a cover that wasn't the cover I hated, the other cover, so I guess there's 2 covers. This must be the Frank Miller cover. The cover by John Romita has Superman posed in such an odd position that it looks like his leg is anatomically incorrect. And that just bothered me so much that I'm not a fan of John Romita's art in the modern times anymore. So I originally thought I wouldn't get it, but I've traveled so long with Frank Miller through so many phases. It's interesting to see what he does next. I enjoyed the Dark Knight 3 book, which he didn't really write, but he had a hand in plotting. So maybe this will be good despite my... as I look at it, I'm not too excited by this art. I wish Romita would go maybe looser, and maybe the coloring would be a little looser, a little more like the Frank Miller stuff on the cover. The Romita stuff, while not realistic in the sense of the heads always feel too big and all the faces have a similarity. There's also I don't know. It just it lacks the energy or pizzazz that I thought his art used to have. So a lot of child rearing stuff from glancing in that. So that's everything I got. I don't know if I got more or less comics than last week. A number of these weren't on my pull, and I just grabbed them off the shelf, like the Superman and the Invisible Kingdom. 2, 3, 4. And the Howard the Duck. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 comics, counting Casper. And last, in my comic book countdown, I thought I would have 14, and I didn't. And then I realized I lent in my, just this past Monday, when I reviewed the comics from the previous Wednesday, I didn't have Gogor in that pile. The Ken Ken Raining. I can't remember his name. The artist who does everything on that comic. But anyway, that comic would have ranked pretty high, maybe number 4 or 5 or something like that in my countdown. So I was kind of sad when I realized after I posted the video that it wasn't in there. I have to get it back from my neighbors so I can read it with my daughter. Okay, talk to you all later. Bye-bye.